Have you ever witnessed karma work in real life? Because I have, and let me tell you, it was more satisfying than any movie ending. My name is Maxine, and back in 2019, I was a bridesmaid in what I thought was my best friend's dream wedding. Sophia seemed to have it all, but her bridezilla behavior was absolutely horrific. Fast forward to today, and she is divorced, broken, and just experienced the most poetic justice I have ever seen. Before I dive into this incredible story, I would love to know where you are watching from, so drop your location in the comments below. If you enjoy stories about karma serving justice on a silver platter, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life drama. Let me tell you how karma served justice on a silver platter. Sophia and I met during our freshman year at UCLA, both majoring in marketing. From day one, she had this magnetic personality that drew people in, but there was always something underneath. She needed to be the center of attention in every situation, whether it was group projects or weekend parties. I admired her confidence back then, thinking it would take her places in life. When Sophia started dating James during our senior year, I genuinely felt happy for her. James worked as a banker, came from a good family, and seemed to balance out her more intense personality traits. They dated for 3 years before he proposed, and honestly, their relationship appeared solid from the outside. But looking back now, I can see all the warning signs I missed. The moment Sophia announced her engagement with that massive diamond ring sparkling on her finger, something shifted dramatically. It was like a switch flipped overnight, transforming my friend into someone I barely recognized. She immediately started treating her upcoming wedding like a military operation that she commanded with an iron fist. When she asked me to be her maid of honor, I felt honored initially. We had been through so much together in college, supporting each other through breakups, family drama, and career stress. However, the honor quickly turned into a nightmare when she handed me a 3-page typed list of requirements for her bridal party. First on her list was weight management. Sophia informed me I needed to lose exactly 15 pounds within 3 months to fit properly into her chosen bridesmaid dress. She had already purchased the dresses without consulting anyone about sizes, assuming we would all conform to her vision. When I mentioned that losing that much weight might be unhealthy, given my current size, she simply shrugged and said, "Weddings require sacrifices." Next came the hair transformation demand. Sophia decided that my natural brunette hair would clash with her carefully planned color scheme, so she insisted I dye it a specific shade of auburn that she had color matched to fabric swatches. She even made an appointment at her preferred salon and expected me to pay the $250 cost because it was for her special day. But the financial demands were the most shocking part. Sophia expected each bridesmaid to contribute 25% of the bachelorette party costs for a 4-day trip to Napa Valley, including luxury accommodations, wine tastings, and spa treatments. My portion alone would cost over $800, not including my own travel expenses and time off work. The wedding planning meetings became absolute torture sessions that I dreaded attending. Sophia would schedule them for 3 hours every Saturday morning, going through every microscopic detail with military precision. During one particularly memorable session, she screamed at the wedding planner for 20 minutes because the flower arrangements were half an inch too tall according to her vision. She fired the first photographer she hired because he did not understand her aesthetic, even though his portfolio was stunning and he came highly recommended. Sophia claimed his style was too natural, and she wanted something more glamorous and dramatic. The replacement photographer cost 3 times as much, but she insisted that quality required investment. The bridesmaids were required to practice our entrance march 5 separate times during different rehearsals. Sophia timed our steps with a stopwatch and critiqued our facial expressions, posture, and hand placement. She wanted us to look like models walking down a runway rather than friends celebrating her happiness. The bachelorette party turned into a complete disaster that perfectly foreshadowed the chaos to come. Despite months of planning and confirmation calls, our dinner reservation was delayed by 30 minutes due to a private event running over schedule. Instead of laughing it off and grabbing drinks at the bar, Sophia had a complete meltdown in the restaurant lobby. She started crying hysterically, claiming that her entire wedding was cursed and that nothing would go according to plan. The other bridesmaids and I spent 2 hours consoling her while she ranted about how people were trying to sabotage her perfect day. Looking back, this should have been my first major red flag about her mental state. The actual wedding day was even worse than I had anticipated. Sophia arrived at the venue in full Bridezilla mode, criticizing everything and everyone within sight. She made the makeup artist redo her foundation 3 times because it was not exactly the right shade under the chapel lighting. The poor woman was clearly skilled and professional, but nothing satisfied Sophia's impossible standards. The breaking point came when Sophia reduced James's 6-year-old niece to tears. The little girl was serving as the flower girl and accidentally dropped a few petals during the rehearsal. Sophia screamed at her for ruining the entire ceremony, calling her clumsy and careless, in front of the entire wedding party and family members. James's parents looked absolutely mortified by Sophia's behavior toward their granddaughter. I could see the doubt creeping into their expressions as they witnessed how their future daughter-in-law treated a small child over something so trivial. The little girl's parents quickly intervened, but the damage was done. I felt completely exhausted and emotionally drained by the end of that weekend. This was supposed to be a celebration of love and friendship, but instead it felt like surviving a natural disaster. Many of the other bridesmaids privately complained to me about Sophia's treatment, questioning whether she had always been this controlling and demanding. At the time, I convinced myself that this was just wedding stress bringing out the worst in my friend. Weddings are notoriously stressful events, and I had heard plenty of horror stories about brides losing their minds during the planning process. I hoped that once the wedding was over, Sophia would return to her normal personality, and we could rebuild our friendship. After the wedding concluded, I made a conscious decision to step back from my friendship with Sophia. The whole experience had left me feeling used and unappreciated, like I was just a prop in her elaborate production, rather than a friend she valued. I needed some space to process everything that had happened and figure out how to move forward. Sophia's social media became a constant stream of posts about her perfect marriage and wonderful life with James. Every meal, every weekend trip, every anniversary was documented with carefully curated photos and captions about their incredible love story. However, I started noticing that James appeared in fewer and fewer of these posts as time went on. About 2 years after the wedding, I began hearing whispers from mutual friends about problems in their marriage. Apparently, Sophia had been complaining to various people about James not being romantic enough or ambitious enough for her standards. She felt like he was holding her back from achieving her full potential in life. According to these reports, Sophia was constantly criticizing James for his career choices, his social skills, and his family relationships. She wanted him to pursue higher-paying positions and move them to a more prestigious neighborhood. When he seemed content with their current lifestyle, she interpreted that as lack of ambition and drive. The gossip network revealed that Sophia was also demanding more expensive gifts, elaborate vacation plans, and social events that were beyond their current budget. She had developed expensive tastes during the wedding planning process and expected that level of luxury to continue throughout their marriage. I deliberately avoided attending their second wedding anniversary party because I was not ready to witness another Sophia performance. From what I heard afterward, the event was over the top, and uncomfortable with Sophia giving a speech about how marriage required constant work to maintain perfection. In late 2022, I received a phone call that I never expected. Sophia called me at midnight, sobbing hysterically and barely coherent through her tears. Between gasps and sniffles, she managed to tell me that James had filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences as the primary reason for ending their marriage. Through her emotional breakdown, Sophia painted herself as the victim of James's sudden and unreasonable decision. She claimed that he had changed completely after marriage, becoming distant, unromantic, and unsupportive of her dreams and goals. According to her version of events, James had basically abandoned their relationship without any warning or effort to work things out. I felt genuinely conflicted during that conversation. Part of me wanted to offer comfort and support, because divorce is painful regardless of the circumstances. But another part of me was thinking about everything I had witnessed during the wedding planning process and wondering if Sophia's behavior had contributed to their marital problems. The divorce proceedings became extremely messy and contentious, lasting for over 8 months. Sophia hired an aggressive attorney and fought for substantial alimony payments along with half of James's assets, including his retirement accounts and investment properties. She felt entitled to maintain the lifestyle she had become accustomed to during their marriage. However, James's legal team apparently had documented evidence of Sophia's controlling and manipulative behavior throughout their relationship. They presented testimony from friends, family members, and service providers who had witnessed her treatment of others during various events and interactions. The final settlement was far less generous than Sophia had expected. She received the house they had shared, but no ongoing alimony payments. James kept his retirement accounts and most of his investments, agreeing only to cover some of her legal fees as part of the final agreement. Instead of using this experience as an opportunity for self-reflection and personal growth, Sophia immediately began reinventing herself as an independent woman who had been held back by marriage. She started telling people that being married had prevented her from reaching her true potential and pursuing her real dreams. Her social media transformation was dramatic and somewhat ridiculous. All the posts about perfect marriage and domestic bliss disappeared, replaced by motivational quotes about female empowerment and boss babe mentality. She started posting photos of herself at networking events, yoga classes, and expensive restaurants with captions about discovering her authentic self. Sophia jumped back into the dating scene almost immediately after the divorce papers were finalized. She seemed determined to prove that she was desirable and successful without James holding her back. Her dating profile, which a mutual friend screenshot and shared with me, was particularly revealing about her mindset. The profile read, "Looking for a real man who can handle a strong woman. I know my worth and will not settle for less than I deserve. Seeking someone ambitious, successful, and ready for real partnership." Reading between the lines, it was clear that she was looking for someone even wealthier and more successful than James. Her social media posts about her dates were equally telling. She frequently mentioned expensive restaurants, designer gifts, and luxury experiences that her various suitors provided. It seemed like she was using dating as a way to maintain the lifestyle she felt entitled to, rather than seeking genuine emotional connection. I found myself checking her social media occasionally, partly out of curiosity and partly out of concern. It became obvious that Sophia had learned absolutely nothing from her failed marriage. If anything, she seemed more materialistic and demanding than ever before, convinced that her divorce proved she deserved someone better than James. In early 2023, Sophia's social media exploded with posts about an amazing new man she had met. Derek Martinez appeared to be everything she thought she wanted: successful, generous, and completely devoted to spoiling her with expensive experiences and gifts. Derek's Instagram profile painted the picture of a successful real estate developer who owned multiple properties across California. His feed was filled with photos of luxury cars, high-end restaurants, yacht trips, and designer clothes. He seemed to live the exact lifestyle that Sophia had always craved and felt she deserved. 6 months into their relationship, Sophia was posting almost daily about their incredible adventures together. Derek surprised her with weekend trips to Miami, Las Vegas, and San Francisco. He bought her designer handbags, expensive jewelry, and took her to exclusive events that most people could only dream of attending. Sophia was absolutely smitten with Derek and constantly posted about finally finding her equal in life. She would caption their photos with things like, "When you meet someone who matches your energy," and "This is what real partnership looks like." It was clear that she thought Derek was proof of her own worth and success. Derek seemed incredibly generous with his money, but as I looked more closely at their relationship dynamic, something felt off about the whole situation. His gifts were becoming increasingly elaborate and expensive, almost like he was trying to overwhelm her with material displays of affection rather than building genuine emotional intimacy. While Sophia was busy posting about their perfect relationship, I started noticing some red flags that she seemed completely blind to. A mutual friend mentioned that Derek had a history of short-term relationships with women who fit a very specific profile, recently divorced, materialistic, and impressed by displays of wealth. Derek's social media presence was also suspicious when examined more critically. While he posted constantly about his luxurious lifestyle, there was very little personal depth or long-term relationships visible in his content. He never posted about family members, childhood friends, or meaningful personal experiences beyond expensive activities. I decided to do some research about Derek's business background, and what I found was concerning. His company's address led to a shared office space rather than a legitimate corporate headquarters. There was very little information available online about his real estate development projects or business history. Derek never posted about family relationships or long-term friendships, only party acquaintances and business associates who seemed to rotate frequently. For someone supposedly successful and established, he seemed to lack the deep personal connections that most people develop over time. When I tried to express subtle concerns about Derek to mutual friends, they mentioned that Sophia had become defensive about any questions regarding her new relationship. She interpreted any skepticism as jealousy of her happiness and success in finding such an amazing partner. After 8 months of dating, Derek proposed to Sophia with an enormous diamond ring that made her first engagement ring look modest in comparison. The proposal took place during a weekend trip to Hawaii, complete with professional photography and a private dinner on the beach. Sophia immediately began planning what she called the wedding of the century, and unfortunately, she reached out to me to serve as her maid of honor once again. Despite our years of distance and my reservations about her relationship, I found myself accepting the role out of morbid curiosity about how this situation would unfold. The wedding planning process revealed that Sophia had somehow become an even worse version of her former bridezilla self. Derek appeared to have given her an unlimited budget, and she was taking full advantage of his apparent generosity to plan the most extravagant celebration possible. They booked an exclusive country club that required a $50,000 deposit just to reserve the venue. The guest list included 300 people, many of whom were Derek's business associates rather than close friends or family members. Sophia ordered a custom designer wedding gown that cost $15,000 and required multiple fittings and alterations. Her demands for the bridal party were even more extreme than during her first wedding. All bridesmaids were required to get professional spray tans to achieve uniform skin tone. We had to purchase hair extensions to create consistency in length and style. Our shoes had to be exactly the same designer and color, with no substitutions allowed. The bridal shower planning became another exercise in excess and control. Sophia insisted on an ice sculpture live musical entertainment and premium champagne for all guests. She wanted every detail to reflect Derek's wealth and her own sophisticated taste level. During our planning meeting, Sophia treated vendors even worse than she had during her first wedding planning experience. She constantly name-dropped Derek's wealth and business success, using his money as leverage to demand special treatment and exceptions to normal policies. I started noticing that Derek seemed increasingly stressed during wedding-related discussions, although he continued to go along with all of Sophia's expensive demands. Sometimes I caught him looking overwhelmed or concerned when she would announce another costly addition to their celebration plans. Sophia's casual conversation was filled with references to Derek's money and the lifestyle she expected to maintain after their marriage. She talked about the houses they would buy, the trips they would take, and the social circles they would move in, as if his wealth was her own personal achievement. 2 weeks before the scheduled wedding date, Derek Martinez disappeared completely from Sophia's life without any warning or explanation. She called me in a state of absolute panic because Derek was not answering his phone calls, text messages, or emails, and his office was telling anyone who called that he was unavailable indefinitely. The investigation that followed revealed the shocking truth about Derek's identity and lifestyle. He had been running an elaborate long-term con game using fake business credentials and borrowed luxury items to create the appearance of wealth and success that attracted his targets. Derek's supposed real estate properties were actually short-term rental agreements that he had signed using false documentation. The yacht where he had taken Sophia on romantic dates belonged to a friend's charter company, and Derek had been using it without permission by claiming to be a potential business partner. All of the wedding deposits that Sophia had paid using Derek's credit cards were now in jeopardy because the cards were linked to accounts that Derek had no legal right to access. Vendors started demanding immediate payment from Sophia personally when Derek's financial information proved to be fraudulent. The police investigation uncovered that Derek had been operating under multiple false identities across different states, targeting recently divorced women who appeared to have money or were impressed by displays of wealth. Sophia fit his victim profile perfectly: materialistic status, conscious, and eager to prove her worth through a partner's success. The most devastating revelation was that Sophia had contributed a significant portion of her own divorce settlement money to Derek's supposed business investments. He had convinced her to invest in his development projects, promising enormous returns that would secure their financial future together. Sophia lost her entire savings account, which had contained over $60,000 from her divorce settlement. She had also accumulated credit card debt paying for wedding expenses that Derek had promised to reimburse. Within a matter of days, she went from planning a luxury wedding to facing potential bankruptcy. The social humiliation was almost as devastating as the financial loss. Former wedding guests started gossiping about the scandal across social media platforms, and Sophia became the subject of speculation and pity throughout our entire social network. Her carefully constructed image of success and desirability crumbled overnight. With no money, no job prospects, and crushing debt from the wedding planning, Sophia was forced to move back in with her parents at age 32. The woman who had spent years bragging about her independence and success was now living in her childhood bedroom, completely dependent on family support. As I watched this situation unfold, I realized that karma had worked in the most poetic way possible. Sophia's greed, materialism, and superficial values had made her the perfect target for someone like Derek. Her inability to recognize genuine character and her obsession with wealth had led directly to her downfall. Instead of saying "I told you so" or gloating about her misfortune, I made the decision to offer Sophia genuine support during her recovery process. Through helping her navigate this crisis, I learned valuable lessons about forgiveness, second chances, and the importance of authentic relationships built on mutual respect. Sophia slowly began to recognize the patterns in her behavior that had contributed to both her failed marriage and her victimization by Derek. She started therapy to address her need for external validation and her tendency to use people as props in her carefully constructed image of success. We gradually rebuilt our friendship on a completely different foundation, one based on honesty, vulnerability, and genuine care for each other's well-being. Sophia learned that true relationships require give and take, not just taking, and that authentic connections matter more than perfect weddings or wealthy partners. The experience taught both of us that karma is not always about punishment, but sometimes about creating opportunities for growth, redemption, and positive change. Sophia's devastating experience with Derek forced her to examine her values and priorities in a way that probably saved her from years of continued superficial and ultimately unfulfilling relationships. Have you ever witnessed karma work its magic in someone's life? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below about times when you have seen justice served in unexpected ways. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more real-life drama and life lessons. Share this video with someone who needs to hear about the power of authentic relationships over material success. Thank you so much for listening to my story, And I hope it reminds you that genuine connections and personal growth are worth more than any designer wedding or luxury lifestyle. Until next time, remember that what goes around truly does come around.